Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing the BBC classic, but it's called Homebound. Homebound from BBC. All right.
Is it from BBC, really?
It is.
BBC
it is.
Films, yeah.
Yep, BBC Films. All right, let's introduce the crew, starting off with the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. And I'm
Chipper?
after being homebound for like 2 years.
Nah.
Waka.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. How you doing?
So I didn't tell you guys that just a couple days ago I got food poisoning, and I had food poisoning for 3 days. It was really awful.
Good God, no, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was bad. But I'd rather have that again than watch this movie again.
Wow.
Wow. All right. That's it, folks. Thank you very much, and good night.
Yeah.
You know, our first impressions come later, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last but never least, award-winning filmmaker Christopher G.
That's
Mohr.
true. You're never least. Never least.
Cheerio, governor.
Oh me.
But
there's so much I could go into with that, but I'm not going to touch any of it. All right, guys, we are going to review Homebound. We're going to start off giving our first impressions. We already know what Crystal's is. Then we'll dive into that. Will be spoiler free, by the way, and then we'll dive into our discussion and thoughts, and we will get into spoilers. They kind of have to with this film because there isn't really any other point if we don't. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thought, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you enjoy it, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, share with a friend, hit the bell, do all that, and we'll be happy. And of course, leave your comments down below. All right, let's take a look at the card and get into things. Homebound from Brainstorm Media, available in theaters and on demand May 13th, 2022, written and directed by Sebastian Godwin. Cast includes Aisling Loftus. All right. Tom Goodman-Hill, Haiti Godwin, Rafaela Chapman, and Lucas Rolfe. How's that? Does that work?
I'd say it's Hattie. Go to bed.
Is it go to bed? I didn't want to say go to bed.
Made it easier for a parent.
So I went go to bed.
Yeah.
But go to bed could work too. All right. Synopsis: a twisted psychological thriller. Homebound follows Holly, a young woman who travels with her husband to meet his estranged family, only to find his ex-wife is missing and the children are behaving in strange ways. Dun dun dun.
I kind of wish there's an Abbott and Costello routine with that person's last name. Go to bed. What?
Go to bed. Yep. Hattie, go to bed.
Yeah.
I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed right now.
This poor girl is going to write us evil letters.
Like she's never heard it before.
That might be true
by
too.
now.
Might be true too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our first impressions. And Jeff Mohr, sir, you are up first.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
So, I didn't dislike it as much as y'all are talking about, but I had a similar problem with it as I did on a movie we did last week, where I'll save it for spoilers. But I thought the acting was okay, and I was interested. It wasn't like super boring, although I'm like a line from the Bob Dylan song Ballad for a Thin Man came to mind. Something is happening but you don't know what it is. So I just felt like there's something going on here. Something's not right. Why are these kids so weird? And why does their dad have no idea how to treat a kid? So And why is this woman hanging around this long? So, but I thought the acting was okay. I think it's the story. I mean, it looked good. I don't know. That's my first impression is, you can only string me along for so long with the this is weird, and we're not going to tell you why it's weird.
Yes.
And then you keep hanging in to find out why it's weird, and I'll stop there.
Then you'll stop there, and so did I. All right, Crystal, you're up next. What was your first impression, as if we don't know, of Homebound?
Okay, so I really would rather watch this than have food poisoning for 3 whole days. But a day definitely.
It's close, though. You got to think about it, right?
But okay, I love the actors. I love the dude from Humans. I don't know if I love BBC stuff. Typically, I find it very enjoyable. This movie, however, is just, it's got there are moments where it has some very strange edits, and I kind of got lost and didn't understand what was happening, and it was a little confusing. I was like, wait, what just happened there? I had to actually rewind a couple times because I'm like, okay, I guess. Some of the shots were nice, but it didn't feel as polished as it should have. It wasn't edited as well as it should have been, or else they didn't have the correct shots. Either way, I mean, it's irrelevant because it's really that boring, and that it's so drab. You spend the entire movie thinking that something is going to happen, and it doesn't. I'm not supposed to get into spoilers, but
not yet.
But just don't watch it. Just
this
don't
movie.
watch it. Like,
this movie. ...
I mean, I just don't know what to say. I'm like, it's just, that's it.
All right. Yeah, the audience is going to stick around for this. All right, Christopher G. Mohr. What was your first impression of Homebound?
You mean Homeboard?
Homeboard.
Yes.
It was boring. I mean, I'll say. I mean, I'll repeat what the other 2 people said. I mean, I think the actors are competent. I think you could have films where the actors aren't that great, but yeah, I think like Jeff said, the story is very lacking. I think it doesn't really build to much, and I think there could be potential in this story of it being like bigger, because I think my ideas in my head were much more interesting than anything that happened in the film, because it's very it's kind of monotonous in places. I literally the half of the film is just these slow shots of different rooms with ominous music. And to me, it felt like the film's only like 70-something minutes. So they were like, you know what? We don't have enough footage to make like a full film. So we're gonna use extra shots of each of these rooms, and we'll add some ominous music in. But it doesn't add anything, because there's nothing really that, of interest that makes sense to where, by the end you kind of know where it's going to begin with. And I mean, and I even thought like some worse things that could be happening involving these kids, but it didn't really go there. As for a horror film, I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog movie has more blood than this film. It's bloodless. There's
Literally.
There's some stuff that happens that's kind of, I guess, brutal, but there's really nothing to it. But the dialogue, well, yeah, even that is like not really, and it's like all the things you think of where it's going, it doesn't even go there. Or is it supposed to be like Bad Seed Kids? Is there supposed to be something supernatural? But it's like, it's so nonchalant. And then the ending is just confusing AF, where it's like, I don't know. There's a line at the very end. What does that mean? What does that mean? It doesn't, I mean, I don't know. It kind of starts off almost like like a boring white Get Out to some degree, but it doesn't even go to where I just want to get out of this movie
Yes.
and watch something more entertaining. Yeah, it feels like a TV. Maybe I don't know. I mean, the TV movies on BBC are much more interesting. So this BBC
Oh man,
films,
yeah, there's a lot of them.
I just it feels like, oh, we have a house we can shoot at, some actors. Let's shoot this. It's very meh. I don't know what the British slang for meh is, but it would be that.
Meh will work. Yeah, I think there's something. Whoever something in the script didn't translate to the screen because it feels like this is a film that needs a third act. I don't feel like it actually resolved itself, and I found that very frustrating. I also found character motivations very frustrating.
Yep.
I never understood, and we'll get more into this as we discuss it, but one character sticks around and I don't understand why. Why were they even there in the first place? And then but we basically have 5 actors. We have the 2 adults and the 3 kids, and they're all really good. I mean, they're more than apt for these roles. And I would imagine they probably brought more to the role than was there, if I would be too bold. But it's just, it never caught my attention, never resonated. I was waiting for the mystery, and it never really bubbled to the surface. And at the end of it, I'm just wondering, like, why is this a movie? Why am I watching this? Why does this story need to be told? And we'll get more into that when we get into our spoilers, but this movie needs a third act. It needs a third act. I'm just going to leave it at that.
So what you brought up, we're in spoiler territory. So
We're in
what you
spoilers
brought
now.
up, it makes so much sense. Here's the thing. The person who wrote this is trying to sell something very normal and very boring as something
Ominous, yeah.
ominous, and it's not. Like when we first started watching the movie, like she meets the kids aren't anywhere to be found. That was probably the scariest part of the whole movie. Oh my God, where are the kids? Are they okay? I mean, are they out, getting lost or something? Seriously, that's probably the scariest part of the movie. But as it goes on, there's this part where they're catching a goose and they're going to kill it and eat it. And the way she reacts, like, and I'm like, it's actually completely natural. It's not anything that's weird. It's not anything out. I mean, I just don't understand. I don't understand why he's trying to make something
weird,
out of nothing.
Right.
Make something out of freaking nothing. What?
Yeah.
What part? Catching?
No, I was going to say,
or whatever.
His reaction is what's weird. His reaction to her reaction.
Well, there's weird reactions all over. It's like the kids try to kill her. It's like, and they're like, oh, they're just playing.
I think they were just they were trying to scare. Weren't they trying to scare her away? Which you kind of get that toward the end, but still, it's like that's still not enough. The ending. I mean, the kids aren't completely out of touch with reality. They see what's going on. So I don't understand why they're trying to sell us on the fact that these kids, this is a major spoiler, so if you're going to watch this piece of poop, watch it first. The kids aren't so far away from reality that they wouldn't understand that their mother's dead in the basement. Okay, come on, give me a break. It's like, okay, so they're going to try to save her from their father, and yet they're going to be like having their mom. It's just so silly. It's so ridiculous.
Well, and I think there's this film has so many gray areas that it doesn't really spell. They don't even show you they don't show you the big reveal at the very end.
I know, you get a close up.
They don't even show that. Don't even put effort into showing that. To me, it's like they just put all this stuff out there to where it's like, I don't know. Throughout the whole film, I was like, did he abuse these kids? Did he sexually abuse these kids? I don't know. Are these kids real? I mean, I had all these different questions that were much more interesting what they showed us. Because I think when they disappeared, it's like, oh, maybe these kids are not. Maybe they're dead kids. Maybe it's like the innocence or something. And which would have been much more interesting than what we got. It was just these asshole kids that were trying to not allow their little sister to know that their mom was dead. Which doesn't even make sense to begin with, because you have some rotting body, which we don't see.
You hear the fly. That's it.
You don't even make the effort to see. And then it's like, for me, the most shocking part was when he's like giving vodka shots to all the kids for like a like a montage. I'm like, I would have alcohol poisoning, the amount of alcohol they drank. These are kids; they would be dead. I don't see how they're walking around. And so things like that was much more. That was the more interesting thing of them giving shots and drinks to his kids. So yeah, it's just the film was kind of was annoying and boring. It was just slow. It plotted, and I think, but I also got kind of annoyed by the main the female character, because she was just like she was like always screaming and like and even the very end she's like and I'm like, okay. I you know, it's like, get a different reaction. I
was like, fight, chick, fight.
And that's what I'm thinking. We need an arc for her, and we did not get an arc.
There was no arc. She just got
no arc to anybody.
She got more screaming.
I felt like she became more meek. Yeah, she went downhill.
Like, it wasn't an arc. It was just a escalator down.
I mean, well, if you're going to, I mean, that could be an arc, but they didn't embrace that either.
I don't know if that's an arc. That's just volume control.
Yeah, volume control. But I mean, yeah, I was
like Christopher's right. Think of all the stuff it could have been.
Well,
just very quiet.
No. Chris is absolutely right in that it's bloodless, even though there's a brutal murder apparently that takes place. Nothing is shown on the screen. You see the swings, and you hear the thuds, and you see the anger and viciousness in their face. And that, sometimes that's okay for me. But then when we get to the scene with their mom, and we don't know anything.
We don't even get a shadow.
Anything. We don't even know. Nothing. She might be tied up in a chair with a gag. She might be cut up in pieces. She might be
possible.
She might be hanging from her feet. We don't know.
Yes. And then Doc, what you said about there needs to be a third act. That's perfect. I mean, it's like you can't go, it's time. And I'm like, you're damn right it's time. And then the movie ends. I'm like, what?
Yep.
I mean, it's like, I mean, I would give it at least something if we saw some, like the body from The Ring or something, like if her body was like, contorted, rotting. That would have been that. At least that would have been a great way.
I mean, even if we had a hand up in the air,
that, and I was like, I assumed she was dead. So then I thought, well, maybe her ghost is gonna wreak havoc on him, for hurting her kids or something. And they kept like showing those long things to the
door and stuff. I know.
So it made it seem like something more supernatural was and when it didn't, it just like, you just took all the air out of this balloon, and it doesn't really go anywhere, to where it just fizzles out, and you're like, okay, I just stepped in this puddle of fecal matter, and it's like, why? Yeah, it's 70 minutes, but I felt like I was watching a 3-hour movie. I mean, the Batman felt shorter than this film, and I don't understand. Yeah, I just.
Is it possible that it got lost in translation? Is it possible there's some kind of?
I don't think you could. Don't give them excuses like that.
There's no local
thing.
Dog,
it got lost and confused.
I'm trying to validate something in this movie, because it just seemed like pointless, and that's the problem I have with it. Just it didn't say anything.
I think if whoever made the movie, the Sebastian Godwin or whatever, if he hadn't really tried to amp this movie up, like as soon as the opening credits end or come toward the end, you have that high screech, if he hadn't been trying to build this up into something, I think it would have been better. Just as some slow burn, weird kind of, but it seemed like at every turn, he was trying to make it seem like it was something more than what it was. And I think that's a real problem, especially if you're not going to pay off.
Was he trying to
if you're not going to pay off.
Yeah. Was he trying to subvert our expectations? Is that what he was after?
That's the wrong way to do it. The better way to do it is to act like nothing's coming and then give him a money shot.
More like invert.
What do you think?
The only thing I can think of is this whole "it's time" was supposed to be they were going to kill her too with the mother, but
Were they?
But
I
why?
don't know.
Well, it seemed like
'Cause it
they
makes
wanted to
no-
save her
it-
at the
it
end.
just-
I don't
it's
know.
time for what? We don't
Yeah.
know. But I think we were supposed to get the idea these kids had. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't either.
There
I
was
would
not
have
enough.
been. I wanted to get a shot. It would have been really cool to have a shot of the mom and then, like the skeleton of the mom, and then all the baby skeletons next to him, and then they were all ghosts, and the mom appeared. And I don't know. I'm making shit up.
Or
This movie-
what would have been better is if it was the mom and then maybe a couple other women's bodies. Like this
Yeah,
is
like a whole bunch
something
of
that
moms. Yeah.
happens, like a serial killer type thing or something. I mean, just freaking give me something, just something.
Yeah, it's a. All we know is it was a screwed up family.
Yeah, it was
Other
Yeah.
than that, we don't.
the world's worst father. Oh my God. All right.
I
Oh,
missed
definitely.
the message if it was whatever it was.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorites, if we can. Jeff, sir, I believe you.
Oh, I was. Well, I'm probably. I always like being the high score, so I'll
Don't
take
give it.
that.
If you give this a 5, I'm gonna.
You're fired.
Well, I'm giving it a 2.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Basically
Yeah, yeah.
for the acting
Yeah, that's
and
good.
the look. I wasn't near as bored as you guys were, and the long shots of the rooms didn't bother me like
They
they
didn't bother me as much. But it was,
but oh my god, I don't know what the story was. So 2. My favorite scene. God. I've got to take it when Lucia killed the father.
sure.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean-
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
What else?
'Cause
What else can
he
you
was a
choose?
real bore. He was just a totally clueless.
Yeah, he was.
Adult, adult even. All right, Crystal, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
So I don't normally do this,
Oh,
but I am giving it a 1.5. I would normally give it like a 2 is typically where I'm like, well, it was made, but I feel like this dude rammed his fist up my butt, and I'm not okay with it a little bit. Okay, like I'm not that okay with it. I'm like, dude,
Oh,
that is
my
not
goodness.
cool. That's not cool. Because I think he
Whoa.
did that to everyone who watched this movie because we should have gotten something and we didn't. And after sitting through all of that, we should have had more. But I do have a favorite scene, and
I'm so
I actually
uncomfortable
like
now. I can't. Oh, shit.
I actually liked the scene, and I felt like it was well acted. And that is the dip in the pool, because I did feel like, like with but I don't know why they were swimming in that dirty pool. Because like
Right.
I
it
was
had
thinking
like
the
a
same thing.
Okay, I'm just saying, like I would be super bothered by that, but yeah, that was my favorite scene. That was a pretty good one. I mean,
I felt
the
her- I
boy.
felt her fear. I felt her fear.
Yeah,
as well.
me too. She did a good job of like pretending to not be able to breathe. Like the acting, like we said, it's good.
All right, Christopher, not Crystal, but Christopher. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Well, if you took out all these long shots of rooms, the film would be 45 minutes. But
Probably true.
yeah, this film doesn't commit. It throws all these different things and kind of meanders. And I think you'll end up thinking of better scenarios and better plot lines than what this film delivers. It doesn't deliver anything. This film is not DiGiorno's. It does not. It's
Yeah.
and I think you can put all the competent actors in a film, but if you don't do a good job of like mapping out a story that makes sense, mapping out the logic of the characters, and giving a reason why we're watching this film and then how it's supposed to play out, then it ends up not being a film, and it just ends up being, a little bit of a boring mess. And I think this is what this is. I ended up having much more interesting storylines in my head, and the end is like, what is happening here? It's kind of sad that we watch this other film called The Sadness, which is much more big and it's over the top and it really goes for it, and this doesn't really go for anything. It's all there's not even really real flash to it. It doesn't really even show anything. It's just it's kind of pointless, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of pointless. It's like, why even put effort into making a film if there's not any real reason for it, And I think, other than maybe the actors getting a paycheck, I don't see this as being a very strong point in their careers. So I'm gonna give it a 1.25. I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I think the more that we talked about this, the more I despise this film. Especially as a filmmaker. Like, give me money and I can tell a much better story. That would be much more interesting. I think you leave all these breadcrumbs, and then by the end of the film, you find it's all mold. There's really nothing to it.
There you go.
Yep.
As food was going to make it in there somewhere.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm sure the dog is dead too because it ate chocolate. So.
Yeah.
They didn't even tie that up. Like, I'm afraid I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Let's go get drunk with the family. Let's all drink together and shots. Turn down for what? As for favorite scene, that's what they should have said at the end. Turn down for what? That would be much more interesting. And they're all like twerking in the living room.
I die.
Hey, BBC Films, if you want to hire an American,
we're getting the raid going on.
Maybe you should ask for some advice before you turn these films out.
I like it.
I
made a film called Knobgoblin, so I can't. You can't. Don't take my judgment by anything. As for favorite scene, I guess just the idiocy of giving shots to your kids.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say that the shot montage where he treats his kids like they're spring break 1989, where they're taking shots and stuff. So I'll say that, because I was just like, this is ridiculous. This guy is the worst father ever. He's giving vodka shots, and just watch how many shots these kids take.
And then champagne after that, and then
champagne and shots. Shots, champagne, and then he keeps pouring shots again. Vodka shots.
Can't remember.
Like out of a bottle. I mean, like, these kids would have alcohol poisoning. They would all be dead like their mom in the basement by the end of this. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about this.
I actually despise that scene, because I get the motivation of what, what they're trying to do with the father, but it really undermines and destroys the female lead in this, because she doesn't object, and you can't, she's jelly from the beginning and never doesn't become jelly. She's not a character you can root for, and at no point does she become that character, which would have been an arc. Yep. So this movie is frustrating because it teases you with a mystery that doesn't really deliver on. It teases you with all these things that it has no interest of capitalizing on. And as good as the actors are when they're time to act, the characters are just not interesting characters. We're confused. I'm confused about their motivations. I'm confused about what's going on. And then it really insults its audience, I think, with the lack of a third act. It just ends. and betrays the audience's investment in the film by not paying off on the mystery and the resolution and hiding it from us. So, I mean, it didn't have to be blatant, but it had to be something, and it just wasn't. And I think I'm mad at the film and a little insulted by it, and I'm definitely bored by it. And the only thing it's got going for it is the production value. And the acting. So I'm tempted to give it a 1. I really am tempted to give it a 1. Just, but I'm gonna you know what? I'm gonna go 1.252, Christopher. I'm gonna go with you on that. And the favorite scene, that it's really difficult to have a favorite scene. But I will pick something. Because I thought I was going to go somewhere, and I guess it kind of did, but not really. But at some point, she gets the phone and she sees all the messages that should have provided so much anxiety and horror. Yeah. And if you take that part out of it and just get like what it should have done, and it's a great scene, but then it doesn't deliver on that. I don't think. I mean, it tries to, but
right, it
gets lost in other things by that time. But it for a brief second, it promised it was going to go somewhere. And then,
yeah, Doc, you're exactly right. When she found those, she should have. When she showed it to him or whatever, I'm like going, you should steal the keys, drive away, and get the police.
You should run away, do something, get on a bicycle, bike away, do something. She should have left. I mean, I don't understand why this character. Yeah, we needed some background on this character. There has to be something wrong with this character.
You know what? Yeah.
That motivated her to stay. And if we had that information,
there's an even bigger thing here. Who marries someone knowing they have kids and having never met their children? That's odd to me. I'm sorry, but it's a big part of someone's life. And I know that he doesn't see his children often, but if you know they have kids, I would meet the children before I would marry them. Just,
you would think.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But, there's a backstory to her that would have, made a little bit more motivation and fulfillment to her story.
Well, that and it's like there's a part where she's like, I'll get the wine, and he was just acting weird, like he almost knew what was down there.
Yeah, that was
he didn't. So it's like there's
he does. Don't you? No, to me, I think he killed the wife. I think he is totally crazy. I think he killed the wife, and they're pretending that she's still alive. Okay,
I didn't even see that.
That's what I thought, and he was going to hurt her, or well, I guess she could have. And then I thought he was going to hurt her too. I think this is like a pattern for he's violent. Like he clearly did abuse the children. He physically assaulted them.
But then why was he looking for her? Why was he getting mad that she wasn't showing up?
Because I think he is trying to cover it for one with the kids.
I think she killed herself,
but maybe not.
I think she killed herself, and I think because I don't think because then there's really no. What's the reasoning why he would not know she's not she's dead so again there's like so much there's really no explanation for anything. They just throw all these little darts everywhere. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so darts is exactly right. You could choose any one of them, and maybe that's what it is after. I don't know. To me, it didn't succeed in that.
Choose your own adventure.
The filmmaker thinking, oh, this is the kind of discussion I wanted to hear.
Yeah, it might be. All right, so there you go. That's our review for Homebound, and it is playing in theaters or VOD on the 13th of May. So check that out and leave us some comments down below. Crystal, Jeff, Christopher, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So much fun.
It's always fun.
See you next week.
It is. Yes, we got more in store. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh.